Hey everybody, it's Scotty here. Welcome to the channel. This is my second trip to Lime Rock Park. This was on June 16th, 2019. And I am actually in the intermediate group this time, which means that I don't need an instructor in the car. So this is our first session in the HellCat. Just a quick review of what's on the screen here. I've got performance gauges around the outer side. The big circle in the bottom center is a G-force gauge, and I've got a rear view mirror cam up on the top center. On the gauges, the little red dot is the peak for any given gauge, so you'll see that go up over time. You'll also see the maximum G-forces on the skid pad down on the bottom. So I skipped ahead because the first couple runs in this first session are pretty slow. Everybody's getting a feel of the track, so this is my first pass of somebody here. Generally on this straightaway, I get up into the mid 120s. Highest I think I got was maybe 130. So this guy behind me, you'll see in the rearview mirror there, this was a really beautiful GT350, brand new Shelby, traditional white with the blue stripes in the middle. And he was pretty quick on the corners, but I would just lose him in the straightaway. The HellCat just has so much raw power on straightaways. So a lot of the cars would catch up to me on the corners, and eventually I would let them pass after showing them the business on the straightaway. You got to show your strength to these guys, so even though they would catch up to me in the corners, I would lose them on the straights. This is the back straight. This is the only other passing zone on the course. You have the back straight and the big front straight. And this is a pretty hairy uphill because it's easy to get airborne over that. And if you see the high horsepower and torque numbers, that's because actually the wheels came off the ground there. So I never really hit that high of horsepower and torque. So here's the Shelby again with a white Porsche behind him, and I got to give these guys the business one more time before letting them pass. So it gets a little bit monotonous if you're just in the front all the time. It's actually funner following people, so I actually wave these guys by here, let them get in front of me, because it's funner kind of seeing the corners they take and seeing how their cars handle and stuff and trying to keep up with them. And so, and it's also the polite thing to do, to let people pass if they're riding up your butt a lot. And it's tricky with the high horsepower cars like the HellCat because they'll ride behind you in the turns and then you lose them in the straights. So you kind of got to give in a little bit and just let them go. So this is several laps later, behind a different set of cars here. Now this guy in this little Mazda Miata, I was behind him for probably 4 laps, and he would just not let me pass. He would not wave me on. So finally, myself and this blue Corvette behind me had just had enough. We just ended up blowing by him, even though he didn't wave us on, and we ended up getting a little spanking for that. You'll see that coming up. But this blue Vet was really fast. This guy, you'll see him, he pulls away from me in no time. You'll see my G-forces down there in the lower center are just about 1G. This is primarily a right turn course, that's why you see the G-forces higher on that side. So that's the end of session 1, and here the guys were waiting for us at the end of the track. Listen up.
How you doing?
Good, good. Listen, you're going pretty quick out there.
Yeah?
Alright, let's not work on speed, let's work on the fundamentals first.
Okay.
Like you and that Corvette, you guys are going super fast.
Yeah.
We gotta just build up to it.
Okay.
Alright, last thing I want to see is something happen to you, the car, or anybody else.
Not a problem.
Yep.
Just, you know, leave
I
the
got
market,
you.
okay? Work
Alright.
on fundamentals. It'll come, I promise you, okay?
Alright.
Thank you.
Thanks, Oliver.
Whoopsie. Alright, so this is session 2 now. Definitely start to feel a lot more comfortable as the session goes, as the sessions go on. Now, unfortunately, some of my gauges were not working on this one. Speedometer in the lower left being a real bummer. I get this black Beamer riding behind me on this one. He was riding with me for a while, and again, you know, he'd catch up to me in the turns, but I'd lose him on the straights. So after a couple runs of losing him on the straights, I'd usually let him pass. So here we are again, a lap later, and this is where I wave him on. Yeah, let him pass here. Unfortunately, on these first 2 sessions, I had my tire pressure way too low. A guy I was with told me to lower him down, and really just was not good. And they were, you see me getting sideways there a little bit, trying to stay up with the black Beamer. I got a white Beamer behind me. So I was running tire pressure at about 29 cold, which would get up to about 35 hot. And finally on the last session, I raised the cool temperature to 36, hot like 42, and it was just like a totally different car. I mean, so unlike drag strip, where you want to let your tires low, on the track, you really don't want your tires low. You want them nice and firm and hard, so the tread is really gripping better. So you see me pulling away from the white Beamer there. But again, he'll catch up to me, so now like a lap later again, I'll let this guy pass. Gotta barely even touch the pedal to let these guys pass. You can hear the tires squeal a little bit around those corners. this was a Porsche who was trying to come up on me also. So I had to give him the HellCat business here on this straightaway. He stays with it pretty good. I think they have forced air in those specific model of Porsches. Most of the Porsches are turbos or something like that. Alright, so here we are again. This is where I let him pass. So this is this black Corvette. It's coming up on me. Again, I had to give him the HellCat business at least once. I wish I would have had the right air pressure and I would have given these guys a little bit better competition on these corners. But so here we go, about to hit the straight. He thinks he's going to pull up on me. This guy just starts like driving really erratically. Like hits the curb there, he goes wide on this side, spins out on the grass, and it goes across the track into the grass. Kind of weird. I don't know what he was thinking there. If he just lost attention for a little while or something, or what. So here I'm coming up on one of the only other Mopars that was here this day. This is the Challenger. It's a 392. It's an SRT8. I think it's one of the first gen Challengers. And I spent some time in the parking lot. This guy, we had a good time. We hung out a lot. He waves me on there. I go by him and this other guy. He said he was trying to accelerate to keep up with me, but it was just, that I would just pull away pretty quick. So that's the end of session 2. This is the beginning of session 3. In between this session, actually this is the beginning of session 4. Session 3 I took the RT out, and I'm going to show that in a separate video. So this is the final session of the day. Strangely, I'm in between two silver Porsches here. One in front, one in back. Now they did something different on this time. They changed the course. They have a little alteration on the back corner of the course called a chicane. back straight, there's like a 90-degree turn, and I'll show you here in a second. So it was really cool that they changed the course like this. It was, you know, it's not a whole lot, but it does make you do some different driving techniques. So here you see everybody's got to really slow down a lot. You got to take a 90-degree turn, little S turn right there, then you go up the hill and you eventually join back up with the main course. So it's really tricky coming off that back straight at about 80 miles an hour and having to slam on the brakes to make that 90-degree turn at about 25 miles an hour. So here I'm trying to get some speed up, but there's just a really long line of cars here slowing up the works. So when that happens, what you got to do is pretty much you pull into the pit and you tell the flagman there that you're just waiting for an open space, and he'll wait till some cars go by, and when there's an open space, he releases you back out. So this was really fantastic, because I was literally, it felt like I was on the course by myself for about 10 minutes. I must have taken 3 or 4 laps without really anybody around me. And this Porsche ends up pulling away a bit. So at one point, I mean, I couldn't see anybody in front of me or behind me, and it just really felt like I had the whole course to myself. It was amazing. So watch me hit this turn here. I was going a little bit fast into this chicane. Whoops, overshot that a little bit. It's hard to get used to hitting the brakes coming off that speed like that off that straightaway. This was just a really nice last session. The sun was out. It's nice temperature. Don't care. It just looks like I got the whole course to myself. Nobody behind me, nobody in front of me. It's nice. So here's this blue vet behind me again. He eventually caught up to me, and you know, again, he's right to my butt on these straights. But as always, I had to show him the business in the front straightaway. It's also tough in the HellCat. You hear me like losing tires there? It's tough in the HellCat because it's so easy to spin the wheels out. I mean, it really takes a lot of thought when you're driving. Whereas in the RT, I could have just floored it there and would have just gradually picked up speed. So here's this vet. Thinks he's gonna pass. So pulling away. And what's really cool about this is that this is essentially like an 80 to 120 pull, like on the highway. If you could ever do that on a highway, do a high-speed pull against somebody else like that. So this guy hangs me for a little bit, and then I wave him on, and I let him pass. It's on the back straight there. Coming up on the Challenger again. I was really happy that was in my run group, so that I wasn't the only mover there. Leaves me out again. I'll show you that in a different video. But at least I had a chance to get him to blow by. So that's about it. They brought out the checkered flag shortly after this. But all in all, it was just a fantastic day. Really glad I got to put the RT out there on one run. I'll have a video coming for that, but here I'm pulling up and my wife's in the car.
That was fantastic. Oh my God, I felt so good on that run. And like half the time I was just totally by myself. It really helped me learn the corners and everything. Yeah. Oh, that was so fun.